Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be looking at beginning crocheting from a left-handed perspective. Now what I'm covering today is kind of a compilation of various videos I have already put out for crocheting. However, this does give some additional tips and tricks and brings it all into one cohesive video. And so to get started, you're going to want some yarn and a crochet hook. If you are unsure of what size crochet hook you need for whatever you're doing, a good starting point, if the pattern doesn't tell you, is to just look at the sizing guide here or recommendation for the yarn that you are using. So mine has a recommendation for a G hook, which is what I will be using today. Now, left-handed crocheting can be a bit tricky, not because it's harder to do left-handed versus right-handed. It's about the same, just using the other hand. The difficulty is, if you haven't discovered already, that a lot of materials for teaching how to knit and crochet is from a right-handed perspective, which is backwards to how you are going to be doing it. And so I'm hoping this video will help you out with that. I am hoping in future videos to help when it comes to reading patterns from a left-handed perspective, because we do crochet from the opposite direction, which can cause some patterns to end up becoming flipped, which is not what you want in all of your projects. So to get started here, we are going to start with the chain stitch, which is your foundation for basically all crocheting. So to do that, you are going to want to loop your yarn like so. You're going to flip your hand over and you're going to grab your loop here to create a slip knot. I'm going to pull that tight. And now to do the chain stitch, you're going to yarn over your yarn from back to front to your hook. You're going to want to bring your hook back. I like to tip it down to help lock that yarn into place and pull it through that first loop on your hook. So again, you're going to yarn over, pull through. And you are going to do that for as many chain stitches as you want for either the pattern that you are reading or just however long you want it for whatever project you are doing if you aren't using a pattern. Another tip for when you are doing the chain stitch is to always make sure that the right side of your chain is facing towards you. If you accidentally twist it where you can see the back, you can cause the chain stitch in of itself to start twisting, which will A, be harder to work with, 2, won't look quite as clean cut in your project. So always make sure if you put your project down, picking it back up, you make sure this is staying towards you and has not twisted around. When you have the amount of stitches that you want, then you can start on doing whatever stitches you are needing to do for your pattern or project. We are going to start with a single crochet, which is the simplest stitch that you will probably work with outside the chain stitch. And so if you look closely, you have the loop that you are currently having on your hook. You have one stitch here, you have one stitch here, and so on and so forth. For the single crochet, you're going to want to go into that second chain from the hook. And also, if you look at it, you have 3 loops, top, middle, and bottom. I like to go through in between the middle stitch and the bottom stitch. And the reason for that is, one, consistency's sake, and by having 2 loops on top, it prevents by only having having both versus just one, it allows some stability with the yarn so that it doesn't pull too much against it and create some openings and gaps I don't want. So I'm going to yarn over, have my yarn over the hook. I'm going to rotate it down to lock it in and pull through those 2 loops, giving me that. I'm then going to yarn over one more time and pull through both of those. The reason I skipped a chain here was to give room for it to come up and over in order to turn and get tight right there. So to show that again, I'm going to put my hook between that middle and bottom loop in the stitch, or the grab one, yarn over, pull through. Go through the middle, and between the middle and the bottom, grab a loop, pull through, yarn over, pull through two. And you are going to just continue that all the way across. Once you have gone all the way across, it should hopefully look something like this. If you are just starting out, please do not be discouraged if you don't have nice even stitches all the way across. That is just something that comes with practice in gaining a consistent tension all the way through. And as you continue to practice and find methods of holding the yarn in your hands, some people like to loop it around extra times for maintaining tension. Some people use tension rings. I typically just like to hold it like this. It is going to vary from person to person what works for you to prevent a too tight or too loose tension. And I'll try to put together a tension video specific to crocheting some point in the future. But for now, don't give up, just keep practicing. It does come over time. And so now that your row is finished, you are going to want to have a chain stitch here for your turn chain. And you're going to turn your project at that point. This chain will consist of being your first stitch right here. And we're going to go into the next one. Now, just like you had two loops above on top of your hook when you're going into a chain, you're going to do the same thing here. You can see on each of these stitches, you have two loops, one on either side of your project. You are going to want to go underneath both of those. And again, unless the pattern says to go to just the front loop or back loop only. But that's just if the pattern asks for it. So again, for your single crochet, you're going to go under those two, grab a loop, pull it through, yarn over, pull through two. And you're just going to keep doing that all the way across. Once you have gotten all the way across, you now have 2 rows of single crochet. So at this point, good job. You have successfully done your 2 rows, and that is great progress in learning how to crochet. We're going to start looking at a new stitch. We're going to cover the chain stitch, the single crochet, the half double, and the double in this video. These are your primary beginning stitches that you use on a fairly regular basis. The half double is a little bit taller, and so you're going to actually chain 2 for your turn stitch. And again, that's going to consist of being your first stitch in the row, and we're going to continue on with the half double on the next stitch. And the half double is exactly the same as a single, except you're going to yarn over before going through and grabbing your loop. That results in 3 stitches, and then you yarn over for 4 and pull through all 3. Show that again. You're going to yarn over, go through, grab a loop, have 3, yarn over for 4, and then pull that through 3. Show that a couple more times here at a normal pace, or at least my normal pace. It's going to be a bit different from person to person. So you can see this stitch is a little bit taller than the single crochet. As you are coming to the end of your row, another tip is, so just like you had to skip this here to start because that counted as your first stitch, you have to remember that that chain also counted as that first stitch for the previous row. So you want to make sure to go into that chain stitch below. Otherwise, you're going to end up losing a stitch. So this keeps it consistent, having the same amount of stitches from the previous row to the next. Unless you're decreasing or increasing, and then that's a different stitch altogether. Now for our last stitch, the double crochet, you are going to actually want to chain 3. So again, this is even taller, so you want to have that extra stitch for turning capabilities. And again, that counts as your first stitch. So we're going to yarn over at the start. We're going to go into the next stitch here, grab a loop and pull through. Then you're going to yarn over, pull through 2, and then again, pull through 2. So show that another time, yarn over, go into the next stitch, grab a loop. So you have 3, yarn over for 4, pull through 2, and pull through 2. So a little bit more steps involved, but it gives you a nice little bit taller stitch that is used on a frequent basis in crocheting. And I'm going to go all the way to the end here of my row with a double. So as you can see though, you have your really short single crochet. We've got 2 rows, 1, 2. Here's your half double, and then here is your double crochet. So remember, as you're finishing your row, to make sure to go into the chain. With this one, you're going to want to go into that top chain to grab your loop and then do your normal double crochet. At this point, you have completed 4 rows, incorporating 4 different stitches if you include the chain stitch. So that gives you a really good foundation for the basic stitches used in crocheting. To finish off a project here, just so we can have that as kind of a finish here, I'm going to cut my yarn with a bit of a tail. And all you need to do to finish off is you're going to pull this straight out, which will lock that into place. So it can unravel, but it's not going to be as easy. Then you are going to want to weave in your ends, which for this, I'm just going to weave it through my top here. When I have just a little bit of tail left, I like to kind of tuck it in the middle of a stitch just to hold it in a little bit more securely. I'll worry about weaving this in later, or for this I might not. I might just leave it as is. But that is beginner's crocheting. I hope this was helpful. And if you have any more questions, please let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have any other ideas of videos you'd like to see, also let me know in the comments. Please consider liking and subscribing to see more of my videos. Thank you again for watching and have a fantastic day. Bye.